Welcome to the Early Wedge Tuesday Best Bet Show. I am your host, Eric Cohen. We are here for the PGA Championship, one of the biggest events of the season, and we have a blockbuster show for you. Now, before we bring in the stars of the show, let's see how we did last week. And how about Jason Sobel hitting a 40-1 with Ryan Fox chipping in the playoff at Myrtle Beach, and the crew went 5-2-1 on matchup wagers. We made you some money if you blindly tailed us. Now, on this show, it's a little bit different than previous weeks. We have the great Nejad. He's here. Don't worry about that. But we have Jason Sobel and Patrick McDonald are covering the event out in North Carolina. So they are not on the show. Let's bring in the surprise guest. We have a two-time PGA Tour winner. He played 279 events on the tour, 10 top fives, 21 top tens, and he is the back-to-back winner of the API in 2014 to 2015. It is Matt Every. Matt, glad to have you on the show. And also we have the host of the Early Edge every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. One of the best golf bettors on the planet, Nejad. Matt, I'm going to start with you. And by the way, happy birthday, Sia. Turning 27 on Sunday. Just so happy belated birthday. Matt, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on PGA Championship. You're thrown in the fire. Any gut feelings on Quail Hollow this week?
Well, first of all, guys, I'm on site as well. I'm just making time for you tonight on Tuesday night. Do any inside? Wait, what'd you say?
Any insight on Quail Hollow just from being out there?
I walked it today. It's just brutal, dude. And look, there's been a few changes throughout the last 15 years here. Obviously, last year they regrassed the greens a little bit. But for the most part, the bones of this place have been the same, and it just kicks the crap out of you. I mean, it just does. It is a brutal golf course set up normal. This rain we've gotten, to me, it just shrinks. It just shrinks the guys that can win even more. I feel like there's 5 or 6 guys that have a realistic look, and then, do you want it? Obviously, 2 of those guys are Rory and Scotty. Do you want to touch them at 4 or 5-1? I mean, it's the world we're living in right now with those 2.
Well, you just, started our storyline segment, made it super easy here. So you said 5 or 6 can win, but I don't know. Are you going to go that deep?
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously 5 or 6 can win. I mean, I guess there's probably 20 or 30 that technically can win, but Matt kind of punctuated it with, you got Rory, you got Scotty, and you got Bryson, and it does feel like the big 3. It does feel like a Boston Celtics, Miami Heat situation where it's the big 3 and it's everybody else. That doesn't mean those everybody else can't win. Like, there's guys that I think, John Rahm, right? Joaquin Niemann maybe all of a sudden shows up at a major. Patrick Cantlay, who's been playing well. We haven't even mentioned Xander Schauffele yet. We can go down the list. There's at least 15 to maybe 30 golfers that you could make an argument could be there on Sunday afternoon. But the gap between the top 3 and everybody else, especially at a course like this that Matt Every just kind of explained, it's going to kick you around a little bit, and you got to have the distance. At least you don't have to have the distance, but you're going to want to have the distance to have that built-in advantage. And those top 3 names, not only are they playing well across the board, they have the distance component as well. They have the major history as well. They have the recent form. They have form at Quail Hollow. Like, they check so many boxes, and not everybody's going to check those boxes. Does that mean the others can't win? No, it just means their odds of winning are so much dramatically lower than the top 3. So we'll talk about it. Listen, there are some other names here that we can talk about in the outright market and in other markets, but certainly those top 3 are the top 3 for a good reason.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to the outright market, it's just tough to play anybody else. We'll talk about that later in the show, but I want to give you guys a trivia question. So since 2011, only 3 golfers have gone on to win another major after their Masters victory. Can you name them? Just shout out a name with 3 they've won. I mean, like guys like Adam Scott never won another major. Spieth is one. Okay, that's a good one. 2 other ones. One of them won the
one probably.
Actually it's not. That's the second hardest one.
Wait, was it a you said a PGA Championship winner or Masters? You said
Masters winner. So Rory McIlroy. Basically, there are only 3 guys since 2011 that have won another major. Jordan Spieth obviously is one of them. Won the PGA, won won the U.S. Open, and won the Open Championship. Hasn't won the PGA yet. Scotty Scheffler. Very good. That's number 2 because he won the Masters. And who is the third that also won a second Masters from 2011 and beyond? I'll give you a hint. He's on the LIV Tour.
Brooks. Or no, Brooks didn't win the Masters, did he?
Brooks hasn't won the Masters.
No.
Bubba Watson.
Wow. Yes.
Bubba Watson is so the only three guys. So when you're talking about betting Rory at a short number this week, and you hear that stat, Matt, do you put anything into that? Like, is there something after winning the Masters that
no?
You just throw that? You're throwing out my storyline.
Yes.
Me too.
I mean, Rory is a generational talent. He's on another tour, man. When that guy's clicking, he really is. Scotty too, but Rory is just. He was touched by the hand of God. You touched on it, Sia. He is the separation between those two is ridiculous right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, you're not, I love to play the meaningless trends. I don't care if it's football props or golf or anything like that. We tried this. So what was it earlier in the year at the Cognizant? Like nobody outside of the top five had ever won or had won the Cognizant after 2 rounds. It was top 5 after 2 rounds, and they hadn't won since beyond 2010 or like in the 2000s. And yet Joe Highsmith makes the cut on the number and then wins. Something like that.
I think it was round 1, top 10. I thought
something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and it just blew up my whole theory there. So you're throwing that out. Okay, fair enough. Now we're speaking of round 1. Let's see the featured pairings that they put together, featured threesomes that they put together. And producer Matt does a great job putting this graphic together. Some interesting ones. Now, Matt Every, what's your favorite of these 4 that you can see on screen?
Well, guys, I'm actually covering Rory, Scotty, and Xander on Thursday morning.
Go!
So Are you serious?
I'm pumped for that. Yeah, I'm walking with them on the featured group coverage on ESPN.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be sick.
You couldn't have handpicked a better trio, obviously. Wow.
No, yeah, it's going to be killer. I'm worried about like the crowds. It's soaking wet out here, man. And then like where they're walking, it's hilly. It's just a recipe for your feet to slide out underneath you out here right now. That group by far for me, guys, is the one my eyes are going to. As far as the others, name that Ludwig Jordan Spieth group catches my eye a little bit. Reed's a little bit of an enigma right now. We don't really know what we're going to get out of him. Spieth, kind of the same. If you ask me, if he drives it good this week, I don't hate Jordan Spieth. Ludwig with the irons, he worries me right now.
Yeah.
Something's going on there with him, but he's also the kind of talent where he's one of those guys. He's not right there with Rory and Scotty, but man, if he has his good stuff, he's the next closest.
Matt, I want to ask you about actually covering, in the featured group. Mm-hmm. What's that like for those of us who watch at home? I mean, are you walking the course? Do you have a cart? Like, I kind of wonder how that all works.
Okay. Yeah. So you do have a cart most weeks, but it's kind of a pain, especially if you're covering, usually featured groups are the bigger names. So you're covering groups with crowds. It's tough to maneuver with a cart. So I try to stay a lot of guys stay right around the group. I try to stay ahead of them, maybe a full shot. So like if they're teeing off, I'll be out in the fairway. I know what they're hitting for them. I mean, I played long enough to know what they're hitting. You can get the numbers from your producer in your ear, how far they are. So I know that. I can also hear the caddy conversation in my ear because if the boom mic's turned on the tee box. So a lot of it's just feeling it out there. And then as far as like the actual commentating part, I just try to be myself as much as I can.
That is awesome. Well, Sia Nejad is actually picking for one of his first round leaders, one of the guys that you're covering. So Sia, let's take a look at your 5-pack. I mean, you're going with some chalk here, but I guess you can't really argue with Rory at Quail Hollow, can you?
And for the record, I didn't want to go with 5. I'd like to keep it at like 4. But 2 of these are such long shots that we're just talking about like a buck or 2, depending on people's tendencies here. Hard for me to stay away from Roy. So I think if you watch the early Wedge Sunday show, that live show, we also set up the next tournament, which would of course been this tournament. I like Bryson. We'll talk about that later. And the only reason I liked Bryson over Rory, for example, is because at the time, Rory was plus 475 and Bryson, again, at the time, this is just 2 days ago, and Bryson was plus 1400. Well, now that number has moved, so they're a lot closer together, but still, I'm not paying for Rory at plus 475, regardless of how generational he is and how great he's been at Quail Hollow, all of those things. It's just too short of a number. However, I can sneak in a first-round leader number at quadruple the price for a guy that should be going out, not a weatherman, but should be going out. Hopefully for Matt's case too, it's good weather for that group because we got morning tee times, but it's not too early where it's going to be like a little bit on the colder side. I use that term relative, like, in a relative sense, it'll still be touching 70, but I think Rory's going out at an optimal time. So I think this plus 1600 is worth it for a guy that just absolutely owns this course. The other four, I'll just touch on them quickly. Patrick Cantlay, we're going to talk about later in the show. The putter's been there 2 of the last 3 tournaments. That's what's really been failing him. The approach play, the ball striking is so good for Patrick Cantlay. And I will say his form at Quail Hollow, if you look at his track record, it's not very good. It's very middling finishes in the 20s and in the 30s. What's failed him at Quail Hollow specifically is the approach play. And he is absolutely dialed in. I think it's 8 tournaments in a row where he's gained on approach in a very, very significant way. The long irons, the short irons, everything, it's clicking for Patrick Cantlay. So I could see that clicking in the first round. Corey Connors we'll talk about later. Love the number at 60-1. I have multiple bets on him in different ways. And then the long shots. Davis Thompson, an absolute bomber. I don't think he can win this tournament, but can he get really hot for a round? Absolutely. And Harris English, I think, is super sneaky. Not the course fit necessarily people are looking for, but 110-1. This guy's a technician. He can putt. He's a little longer than people think. And I cheated, and I looked at the cheat sheet, by the way, after I put these picks in, and I noticed I think Matt Every is kind of fond of Harris English as well. So stay tuned for that.
All right, so Matt, outside of the group that you're covering, 3 obviously the favorites, are there a couple guys you would keep an eye on in round 1 that you might want to play at a number like Sia did?
Yeah, well, look, when I look at the first round market, I like the juicy numbers. I steer away from the favorites. For me, it's an opportunity for a guy to catch lightning in a bottle. I was one of those guys when I was playing. Like, my ceiling was high. It wasn't always there, but when it was there, it was really good. We kind of see that with a guy like Keith Mitchell, and I'm not sure what his number is right now, but I think earlier in the week he was around 70-1. I know he's held a bunch of them already, but look, man, these guys that know how to play offense out there, when it's clicking, you got to ride them. And for the record, though, I like every single one of Sia's picks that he made. Great demeanors for majors. Every one of those guys, they're all kind of the same. Maybe Rory's a little different, but they're all just kind of, they're not getting flustered out there.
So, Matt, do you remember the last first round lead that you held?
Yeah, probably Greensboro, 17 maybe, Wyndham.
Actually, I believe it was the API in 2020, right before COVID.
You're right. I missed the cut too after that. Oh, dude, it was so bad.
But you shot a 7 under 65. You were above Rory McIlroy in round 1 of the API in 2020, and then the world obviously shut down.
The next week.
Next week. Yeah. So the last first round leader that people had bet before COVID, a great trivia question. Dude, remember that.
Listen, you want to hear a crazy story? So the next week the world shuts down at TPC, right? And when you get paid on tour, there's a text that goes out right after, when the tournament finishes on Sunday, there's an automated text that goes out, and it gives you your FedEx Cup ranking, how many points you made, how much money you made, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So Friday, the world shuts down, and I shot like 4 or 5 over in the first round at TPC, and like Hideki was leading. Yeah. Harris English was in solo second. All right. And our lockers are right next to each other. And I'm pulling into the course to get my stuff because we don't, tournament got canceled, whatever. And I'm going in there, and they had just decided that they were going to chop the purse, evenly, 144 guys or whatever the number was. Well, before that, they sent out a text, and it said like Matt Every, 0 FedEx Cup points, tied for 125th, $0, which is normal, right? Like that was in the tournament. So I'm like, oh, sick. And Harris goes, hey, Every, look at this. And he shows me a text, and it says Harris English, like $1.8 million. And then they pulled it like an hour later. I mean, could you imagine getting that? Oh, dude. That's like
we are here for the stories.
Can I ask you, Matt, real quick? were you with him only when he got the 1.8 text, or were you with him
No,
as well?
it had already happened. Like I had already gotten the text that they were chopping the purse before I was going into the locker room, and we were just both there cleaning our stuff out at the same time. And he was like, "Look at this," and I was like, By the way, my favorite bulldog ever, Harris English, as good as it gets.
I mean, you're a Florida guy, though, right? You're
but you know, I like a lot of those guys over there. I mean, for the most part on the tour, everyone's pretty solid.
I just have to ask before we go to break here: Have you been? How many cocktail party games have you been to? Football games?
Well, I live there. I live in Jacksonville now, so I've been to plenty. Not a lot recently. Actually, I was at the one this year when DJ hurt his arm, but it's been rough seeing lately for the game. That game.
There are bucket lists for some people. A lot of you watching on the show, we all would like to go to the Masters or the Players, etc. That's one of them. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I know it's not called that anymore. Always on CBS. I got to get there one day. Definitely on the bucket list. Coming up next, Matt already knows what this show's about because he's making around the world picks. Find out next after we hear from one of our sponsors.
Get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure.
Just try to keep up.
Every face-off.
This ends now.
And every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been? My entire life!
It's showtime!
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
If you are enjoying this show, which is, I hope you are, because Sia and I sure are talking with Matt. It's awesome.
That story was so awesome, Issa.
So good. So good.
Go ahead.
Make sure to follow the SportsLine page, like this video, and the more followers, the more likes we get. As you always encourage, Sia, the better. All right, let's talk a little matchups. And Sia, we're gonna talk about Harris English, who's Matt's guy, but I want to get your first round play first, because this one really intrigues me.
Yeah, so this one, I always look for round 1 matchups on the early edge, which, if that's new to people, that's the 10 o'clock morning show, Monday through Friday. I always have matchups, and they're not necessarily always 3 balls. Sometimes I'll just kind of reduce it to a head-to-head. This one feels like a head-to-head, though. In fact, it kind of feels like I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but Tristan Lawrence and Nick Dunlap are just not playing good golf at all. Now, they do profile well for this course. They are bombers, but what they've been doing off the tee, especially in Nick Dunlap's case, has been really, really bad. Harry Hall, he had a stint like a couple of months ago where things weren't going well for him in terms of like his ball striking. We know he's always a pretty good putter, and the putter's still there for him, and I think that's going to be important this week. But it does feel like the last couple of tournaments, we're seeing sort of like vintage. I shouldn't say vintage. We're seeing like Harry Hall's B+ game. And frankly, again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful here. The B- game should get him here in this 3-ball. Plus 105, other places. The plus 105, I grabbed it at FanDuel. I can't remember what BetMGM's price was. I think it was plus 100. Same with DraftKings. But I think this is a really good one because, again, the other two are just Lawrence and Dunlap are just in really bad form. And if you're talking about a course that can really eat you up, good luck if you're not in good form, especially when you're going up against a guy in Harry Hall that can sink putts.
That's great. Hey, listen, if you look at my parlay, which I'll talk about here shortly, 2 of those guys are in there. See, all right, now tell us about Matt's boy, Harris English.
Yeah, real quick on this one, because both of these guys are playing really well. Like JT Poston is playing well. Harris English is playing well. If you look at JT Poston's cut streak, I mean, the guy just is a cut maker. It's pretty crazy. I think his price on DraftKings is $6,400. Maybe worth a look as like a safe option. But I actually don't think he profiles super well for this course. Harris English a little longer than JT Poston. Harris English, maybe not the putter JT Poston is, but pretty darn close, especially lately. The approach play, the ball striking with Harris English a little bit better. Finishing positions a little bit better as of late. So I think we're getting some value here. Harris English minus 115 over JT Poston.
All right, Matt, I love to pick players to win the top nationality plays, and you just fit right in with a plus 335. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Top African Eric Van Rooyen. Why?
Well, it kind of is the same theory that Sia's going with in his 3-ball matchup here. We basically have to beat Bermster here, Dean. And the other guys are in terrible form. Seabez, awful form right now. Higo, I know he just won, but I'm not buying it. That place is wide open off the tee. Yes, this place is long, but you need to be somewhat accurate here. You're going to get penalized for missing fairways. Where he won, there's 0 penalty for missing fairways. So I'm hesitant there. I think there's just a ton of value here for EVR at plus 330. Where we basically just have to beat Dean in my eyes. I really like it. And he's playing some nice golf.
Can I interrupt real quick, EC?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because Matt and I are totally on the same page, which means we're going to have either great weeks or we're going to have bad weeks. It looks like. We'll see how the rest of the show goes. But I was on HQ with Jenny Dell earlier this morning. And I like every time there's a certain spot on Tuesdays when I'm on, I like to give out a top nationality play. This is the one I gave out, EVR top African. So we are like the synergy is real right now.
The synergy is real. Now, I don't know if Ricky Fowler's real right now, but Matt Fitzpatrick really not playing all that well. Is that why you're fading him and going with Ricky?
Yeah, kind of both. I was shocked that this number was a coin flip between these two. Ricky is playing some better golf. Last week, he had his stuff for a bit of a stumble, I believe, in the third round. But obviously, he got his first win here in 2012. I'm a believer in Ricky Fowler's. Look, this is a bet where both of these guys are probably going to miss the cut. I just think Ricky's going to miss it by less. I really do. It wouldn't shock me if Ricky makes the cut, but I'm kind of fading Fitzpatrick here. His results have been terrible. We got a couple of, I think he has a couple of, I wouldn't even call them made cuts because there were no cut starts at, what do you call it?
Oh, the
Truist. Signature events. Yeah, Truist and Hilton Head. But other than that, it's been a whole lot of nothing out of him. I think this is a pretty easy cash.
So it's interesting that you say that both are going to miss the cut because I'm trying to get in on this whole missed cut parlay thing. Go ahead. Yeah,
Eric, one more thing. If you look up I have this software that I use called Bet the Number, and if it has a matchup tool where if you plug these two in, like the last 6 rounds that they've played, the last 6 tournaments they've played, Ricky is just kicking the crap out of him in every single statistical category. So it's and that doesn't happen often. Like 10 of them will pop up, and you might get like 7-3 or 6-4 or something. But this is extremely lopsided right now, and it's at even money.
And that's what's the name of the software again? I haven't heard that.
It's called Bet the Number.
Bet the Number. Sia, do you know that?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I've used it. It's actually a great platform. I use Rick's site for most of my statistical analysis, but Bet the Number is excellent as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I used Rick's site to give me some stats here for this parlay, this miss the cut parlay with Tristan Lawrence, Nick Dunlap, and Patty Harrington to miss the cut. And I'm getting plus 219. So listen to this. Lawrence has missed 10 of 12 cuts worldwide since December. Dunlap's form is dreadful. 4 missed cuts and second to last at the RBC Heritage and last at the Truist among guys that didn't, that finished the tournament. And Patty Harrington has missed 9 of his last 10 in PGA Tour related events, not including the Senior Tour, including he also missed last year's PGA Championship. I mean, these guys, I think we're all in agreement. These guys are not going to make the cut. Would be a surprise if they did.
That's a layup.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Did you? Because I know some of these are pre-crafted. You handmade this one, correct?
Yeah, I try to hand make a lot of my parlays here. This one is EC approved as a handcrafted. Now this one I did not approve, which is our one we do. If you watch the show every week, top Canadian Corey Connors plus 160. Sia usually has it, or I have it. This week is my turn. I mean, Connors striping it off the tee and on approach. He's gained in 7 straight events, tee to green, and more than 5.5 strokes in 6 of those 7. He has to beat Taylor Pendrith, Mackenzie Hughes, Nick Taylor, and Adam Hadwin. I was looking at Mackenzie Hughes here, who almost won last week at Myrtle Beach, but he has a dreadful history and 5 missed cuts in 6 PGA Championship starts. Nick Taylor is 1 for 4 in the PGA, with his best being a T68. Can't play him either. I'm out on Pendrith. I'm out on Hadwin. So by proxy, we're going with Corey Connors at plus 160 to cash for us once again. I hit both of them last week with Fleetwood was one of them. I think Connors was another one. So, hey, we'll take it where we can. All right, on to the next one. Finishing positions And Sia, I'm going to start with you because you're going with top 30s, conservative. Speaking of players that we like, Corey Connors just talked about at plus 105.
I was debating the plus 160, your play, or I should say our play, that we go to top Canadian all the time. So I had some hesitation because I think Nick Taylor's starting to come around a little bit, and Taylor Pendrith's certainly a good course fit. And if memory serves, both Taylors, Nick Taylor and Taylor Pendrith, have some decent history at Quail Hollow. That doesn't mean I don't like your plus 160, by the way, but it just means that when I was like deciding between the two, I figured, let me take the T30 at plus 105. And if somehow Pendrith or Taylor kind of sneak in to 28, then, you know, I'm still okay. In other words, if Connors finishes behind them. So again, Connors is just so solid. His recent form, course history. I mean, he just checks a lot of boxes. Can he win? Like, I don't know about that, but to be, you know, safely tucked in the top 25, I think that's where he lives, and plus 105 is a good number here. Patrick Reed, I mean, speaking of good at Quail Hollow, by the way, he hasn't played it in a little while, but good recent form on Live. You know, his major form at the Masters was very good, and he came in, and people, I think half the people were like, well, yeah, that was Patrick Reed of old. Let's see it, like how he is now. Like, people don't care, like all that stuff, and he played awesome. I think he's going to play awesome again. Plus 125, top 30. I'll take that.
Yeah, and I'm playing him top 20 at plus 210. So I like that. See, you and I have some synergy. Mm-hmm. Let's look at Matt's picks, and he's going with a few top 20s with some numbers, including a guy, Matt, that won last week and is getting plus 230 for a top 20 after just winning a signature event in Sepp Straka.
It's weird. I like that Patrick Reed pick too, guys. Yeah, 2 wins this year for Sepp Straka. He's playing some quality golf last week. Before the week started, all we heard was the Bombers are going to do well there. Just bomb and figure it out. And Sepp figured it out his own way. He's not a bomber by any means, but he's super consistent. He's going to be in the fairway a lot this week, and he's a guy that has great form. I mean, there's only one guy that's won last, or I guess there's 2 that have won last week coming into this week. But you're going to give me a top 10 player in the world and Sepp Straka plus 220 or whatever it is, plus 230 for a top 20 all day long. Cantlay, let's move on to him. Top 20 plus 155. See, you touched on it a little bit earlier, dude. This guy, tee to green, really, really good off the tee, gaining not plenty of strokes, but he's up there off the tee in recent form, and then into the green as well. And I just think over the course of 72 holes, the elite ball strikers out here, the guys that do it well off the tee. I'm not just talking about bombers. I'm talking about like long, relatively straight, and then quality, like mid to long iron players are going to have such an opportunity to separate themselves here over 72 holes. You just can't run from that part of the bag. And I think Cantlay, it's inevitable that he's going to finish in the top 20. I'm not betting him to win though.
Inevitable. Well, Matt, you aren't familiar with the do not bet list. We're going to talk about that in the next segment.
I can't wait.
Just wait. But I want to throw out Xander Schauffele for top 10 this week at plus 180. In his last 2 at Quail Hollow, solo second. I mean, both of them pretty darn good. But how about in his last 9 majors, he has 7 top 10 finishes, which is literally unbelievable. And we're getting plus 180 with ties. Okay, I'm good with that. Coming up next, the do not bet list had a scare last week, a big scare. But fortunately, we're still clear. We're going to introduce Matt to it after we hear from one of our sponsors.
The crowd loves champions. Gladiator 2 is an epic spectacle.
Remarkable!
To amuse you is my only wish.
The glory is yours, not mine.
Very good. Gladiator 2, rated R. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, see, I'm throwing this one at you right off the bat here. First, Jeff in the chat has 2 questions. Yeah. You like Aaron Rai, top Englishman at plus 650, plus 700, or Akshay, top lefty at plus 275. Any opinions from either one of you guys on those?
I'm not looking at the lefty market right now, but I do happen to be looking at the top English market. So the Aaron Rai one, I actually see it at plus 700, which is a great number. It's just that there's so much talent in there. Tommy Fleetwood, Tyrrell Hatton, Justin Rose, Fitzpatrick, yeah, maybe. Harry Hall, yeah, maybe. And then it drops off a little bit with Laurie Cantor and Matt Wallace, and then a few others. I think that's maybe worth like a sprinkle. This is one of those situations where I think you could pick 2 guys. Like if you really like Tommy Fleetwood, or you're afraid of Tommy Fleetwood or Tyrrell Hatton, I think you could bet Tommy Fleetwood and then also sprinkle on Aaron Rai and make money either way if one of those 2 hit.
All right, I'm with you there. All right, let's bring in the do not bet list so Matt can see what it's all about. So, Matt, these are players that I just can't bet to win tournaments.
You don't like them or what?
I mean, guys that have cost me or cost me money over the years. Xander Schauffele, okay, so he's fine because he's over 10-1. He does not count on the auto fade list this week. But Keith Mitchell and especially Shane Lowry gave me big sweat last week.
Yeah.
Seriously, we're still clear. I mean, Victor Hovland won at the Valspar. I get it. Is there anyone outside of Cantlay who I know you like on this list that I should be afraid of this week?
Well, he's not like a household name like these guys yet, but he shows up in a lot of events. But I do have a little bit of caution when it comes to closing golf tournaments. Andrew Novak for me is I mean, even in both of those guys got it across the finish line together in New Orleans, but it looks shaky coming in. And he's a really, really good player. I mean, a really good player. His name's not going anywhere, but as far as like getting across the finish line, because that's what I see in these names too here a lot. He would be a name that I would keep an eye out in the near future.
That's fair. He might be another addition to this list. Sia, is there anybody I should be worried about on this list this week?
If you're going to worry about anybody, I have a feeling Sung Jae Im's going to have a good tournament in spite of his just a crazy bad approach. Really good history here and really good off the tee. And he's kind of doing everything else right. It's just that approach play that's been a problem. Still, man, I mean, whatever. I think I have a little bit of a feeling on him, but I don't think he's going to win. Patrick Cantlay would be the one I'd be worried about. I think in spite of the major history and in spite of his history at Quail Hollow, I think everything is trending in such a good direction that he absolutely could at least have you sweating this Sunday afternoon.
Can I touch on Cantlay real quick?
Sure.
I've been out with him numerous times with other world-class players, and he does make them look like they're on a different tour. Like his good stuff is freaking impressive, dude. He lives pin high, works it the correct way every time. Like not everyone out here does that. Like it's pretty impressive. His really good stuff.
Well, Sia Nejad is not just picking one outright. He's picking two this week, and one at 45-1. Sia is none other than.
Well, it's Patrick Cantlay. Yeah. So when we did the early wedge show on Sunday, that live show that we do, I gave out Bryson at 14-1. I'm modifying the number, honestly, though, like because that was an early wedge show, I very well could have kept the plus 1400, but this is where you can find it now at plus 950. Just so everybody knows, if you listened to that show, me and Mike McClure also said, if you like Bryson, bet him in the without Scotty in Rory market at plus 1000. So on Sunday, if you watched our show, you could have gotten Bryson at plus 1400 and plus 1000, 10-1 in the without market. But here we are, plus 950 outright. I still like it. I just, before it was triple the odds of Rory and Scotty, and now it's more like double. But yeah, we've talked about Bryson. We talked about why we like Bryson. I don't need to get into that, or Cantlay for that matter. But I don't really want to bet any more than this because my investment in Bryson is going to be big enough at plus. Well, I got it at plus 1400, but where I just don't feel comfortable betting a lot of guys. There are guys like Justin Thomas that are on my radar. Joaquin Neiman, I think, is interesting. Like, and I put in a couple of long shots, but it's Bryson and Cantlay for me, and then I'm out.
Sia, after one of our early wedge shows about a month ago, I put in my bets for the PGA, and Bryson was one of them at 17-1, albeit,
Nice.
I parlayed it and got it at 100 and something to 1. I'll explain that here shortly. But another guy that I bet, and I bet two guys that day. Bryson was one, and Xander Schauffele was the other, and it's pretty cool to see that Matt Every and I are thinking alike on Xander. Why do you like him?
Just everything's kind of trending in the right direction for Xander, and another reason I like him is because I'm not going to bet Rory and Scotty. I like them too, but I'm not touching them at 4 or 5-1. Xander is a beast off the tee. I don't know if the general golfing public realize how long he is, especially for his stature. It's eye-opening how long he is. Also, the approach play for him, specifically 175 to 225. Nobody's been better from that distance in the last 6 tournaments. His demeanor is really, really good for a major. Look, this place is going to be really hard this week. It's long, the rough stick. If you miss a fairway, you're probably going to have a tough time making par. Bad things are going to happen. Xander's about as cool as they come. I like the number on him this week, right around 20-1.
How about Hideki at 40-1? Hideki, gave us a great third round last week and then imploded in the fourth round. Does that scare you a bit?
No, not really. I mean, he's a freak. I'll take a flyer on Hideki any day. He's clearly doing something good enough to where it's potentially there. I covered him quite a bit last week, actually, and I thought he threw away a lot of like sloppy shots, which isn't really that concerning for me. They're like on 14. I mean, the first day, he was the only guy to miss the green. It went right over the pin. He made bogey, but like that's a lot of guys are making 2 on. That's potentially 2 shots there. And at some point, like this guy almost made it all the way back up to the lead. I like his fit here as well. If he's striping it, I'm not gonna say nobody better, but man, he's really tough to beat. Doesn't need to putt great. We just need like mediocre putting out of Hideki. So taking a bit of a flyer there as well. I also don't mind JT. I know he's not on there, but I like JT this week.
Okay, and JT's a guy that we haven't talked about. I was going to ask one of you guys about him at some point. JT played great last week, gave it a run in the final round. See, I think you had him at some point. Didn't you have a bet on JT at some point?
It was the live Sunday show where at that point he was plus 650. He was 3 shots back, and me and Mike and Jason were talking about it, and I went in on that. And frankly, I thought when he hit the back 9, I'm like, okay, he's catching these guys. He's catching Lowry and Straka, and it just didn't happen. But JT is awesome.
So one of the things about betting major tournaments early is you can sometimes get a great number and sometimes you can get a lousy number. And with both of my plays, I bet them on April 15th. Bryson I got at plus 1,700 and Xander I got at plus 1,700. Bryson number looks great. The Xander number doesn't look so great. Now, I did parlay them. You guys know how I like to do that with 3 NHL teams. And so both are locked in at 77-1, and I feel a lot better about that on the first try. Yeah, there you go. So I feel good about both those guys. You guys have both kind of talked about it. See, you talked about Bryson. Matt, you talked about Xander, so not really much more that I could add. Both have good course history. I like the way that Xander is playing of late. And Xander's kind of making a rally in final rounds. He just missed the top 10 the other day. But if you notice, his final round scoring average since the Players has been pretty darn good. That's a guy that if he's 2 or 3 shots back heading into Sunday, I would bet on, just kind of like Sia did during that live show. Xander would be a guy that I would take a longer look at going into that. Now, time for long shots. I have some ideas for some parlays, but Matt's I'm gonna have you go first here. You got a couple of top 5 bets. Start with your boy Harris English.
Yeah, let's do it. Sia, you mentioned you didn't think this was a great course fit for Harris. I think it might be, dude. I know it's long, and Harris is getting up there in age, maybe late 30s, mid to late 30s, which is old for the tour these days. But he is a freaking horse, man. That guy, his ball flight is penetrating. It's extremely strong. And then with the irons, he lives on the back of the ball. I mean, when his stuff's really good, it's the ceiling is high. I don't see him lifting up the trophy, but man, if he got in the hunt, I'd be pissed if I missed out on it. So I like that number right there, and kind of the same exact feeling about Gary Woodland, a guy who's shown a little bit of form this year, perfectly capable of handling the moment out here and having a nice finish on the weekend. I don't really mess with these top 5 markets that much, guys, but figured I'd throw a curveball this week.
And no problem with that. Makes a ton of sense, especially if you get ties. That's always the key. When you bet these top finishing position markets, always bet them with ties. Sia, you and I normally will bet the without market, and none of us had, we hadn't really talked about that, but I knew something had to be up. So that's where your long shots come in here.
Yeah, speaking of Harris English, and by the way, I got to give a shout out to the chat. Join us. We do 5 shows a week. We're actually going to be doing more this week because we've got recap shows after each round for the PGA Championship with a ton of great guests. We're also going to be on CBS Sports Network the rest of the week at 12 and or 1 o'clock. But Jen M, she says Xander plus Padres minus 1.5 tonight is plus 4,500.
Jen is making me so proud in the chat with parlays. Thank you, Jen.
David Barrick talking about the sports book holds. And that is something we talk about, Dave, sometimes, especially with Mike McClure, when we're talking about win equity and what the numbers should be. So if you're new to this show, Dave, just know that, especially when we're on with Mike, we talk about that sometimes. David Todd giving you a shout out, EC, says, great job on the show. You're killing it as usual. And he's not even your favorite fan, because I know Japan is. He says he loves Harris English this week, and that's his only play this weekend. Jeffrey Wilson, Joseph Boza. There's so many people in here. So thank you for Jeff Stenberg. Thanks for being in here. Harris English. It's music to my ears, Matt, because as you see here, I've got him. I guess he can finish third, and I cashed the 110. Just the third has to be behind Scotty and Rory. So I'm not really playing him without marketing except for these long shots. But again, listen, I agree with everything Matt said. I don't like, I almost said it like 50%. Like, I don't think this is necessarily the best course for Harris English, but I agree with what Matt said. I mean, he's a little bit longer off the tee. And if you need a guy, especially if the winds maybe pick up and this course maybe firms up a little bit, gets a little bit harder over the weekend, Harris English is your guy. It's just one of those things where Harris English is just going to, on a tough course, linger inside the top 10. And then all of a sudden on Sunday, he might be there in the top 5. So 110-1 on this guy without Scotty and Rory Market. Love it. JJ Spawn's another guy that I think can kind of sneak up on people. He's not super long, but he's not super short. We know the long iron play with JJ Spawn is really good. We know he's battled recently and lost in a playoff to one Rory McIlroy in the middle of his incredible run. 90-1 in the without Scotty and Rory market. These are guys that, especially if the bomber narrative is only half true, and that other guys with the good long iron play and that kind of generally keep it in the fairway like a JJ Spawn can shine. 90-1, this guy can be there.
So we haven't talked about Rory here. I mean, he's won 4 times at Quail Hollow, so we have to get some kind of a parlay in. I don't trust Scotty as much because there's no course history to report here, but we're going to take a shot with Rory. It's 75-1. How can you do this? So Rory to win, Bryson to finish top 10. See, and I like him. Scotty to finish top 10. How about Victor Hovland? Now, I know he's not in the greatest form, but Victor Hovland, the last 2 PGA Championships, 3rd and 2nd. I'm just saying. And then if you really want to go out on a limb here, at plus 91.40, we can go Rory to win, Xander top 10, which a few of us like. Matt and I like Xander, and Patrick Reed top 10. And Patrick Reed, we talked about him earlier. Matt mentioned him. I mentioned him. Got a good course history, good form on live. This is your way, in my opinion, to bet Rory McIlroy to win. And I think he has a great chance to win. We'll talk about that. But I just think playing him at 5-1 isn't the best value. Sia, any thoughts on that?
Well, I like your second parlay, the one that's longer, more than the first, for whatever that's worth. And I just wonder what this would pay. And anybody can find out. Like, if you had Rory to win, Xander to top 10, and maybe Patrick, I like Patrick Reed a lot, but maybe Patrick Reed top 20, it would still be an insane number.
It'd be in like the 70s. Yeah.
That's
and
great.
I was just trying to go for a 90-1 because, hey, look at it this way. You put $10, you win almost 1,000.
Yeah,
you put $25, you win almost $2,000. That's how we got to do it here. This is how I roll. So you can make these parlays. Matt, are you a fan of any of these parlays, or you think I'm crazy?
I think they're all pretty big reach. Just
Yes.
give me whatever you're betting, and I'll kick you in the nuts. But probably feel better.
Matt, can I tell
life.
you, these are better than last year, because last year, and somebody reminded me of this, I think it was on yesterday's DFS show, which everybody should catch. It's in your feed. It was Sites 501, who I don't think is in the chat, but he joins this show quite a bit. And he said, I can't wait for EC's PGA Championship Michael Block parlay. I remembered that you had something with Michael Block, I think, in the top 20 in some crazy parlay last year.
I was trying to not reference that. See, I had thought about Michael Block, and then I saw his odds on DK at minus 575 to miss the cut, and I just couldn't do it. Matt, do we have any chance with Michael Block to make the cut? Is that kind of a long shot here? Are you giving me that or no?
You said he was minus 575
to miss the cut.
Yeah, that's I think that's called short-term investing is what that is. Yeah.
Matt, can I ask you, I know we got to get out of here. We've taken already so much of your time, but were you able to experience in any way that Michael Block that we were all experiencing in 2023?
I think I was covering the group in front of him that week when he made the hole-in-one. I remember the roar. but it was so wet that week. That the main thing I took away. It was in Rochester, right? Yeah. It was just a mud pit, but what a story.
Not going to be another story.
Blocky fever.
What the guys are saying, don't bet Michael Block this week. Let's look at one and done. Matt, you're not in this. And probably a good thing because look at Sia. He's absolutely crushing us. I know. He's in 9th place out of what, 1,000, something like that?
Save some for everybody else.
And look who's.
Well, you hit 2 outrights, and that's what happens. At least 2 one and done outrights. Rory helped out quite a bit here.
Yeah. So I'm in 637th. So desperate times call for desperate measures. And I'm thinking, I'm going to be smart here. I'm going to take Rory McIlroy. I know Sia's taking Bryson. So, Jason and Patrick, really? You had to steal my thunder. I'm thinking I'm going to gain on you guys, and then you do this to me. Come on. Sia, Bryson, it just makes too much sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can only use Bryson so many times. Obviously, this is a great time to use him, and frankly, I've already used Rory, so I can't use him again. So it's especially when I'm playing from in front, like strategy wise. If you're playing from in front, you do probably want to go with a more chalky guy, take more risks when you're trailing.
I think Rick posted something on X earlier that Bryson was like 44% owned as far as a one and done. So Rory's going to be up there too if you haven't used him already. I'm going to take my shot here. Producer Matt, great job with the graphics there. All right, it's time for the recap screen, which means it is time for story time. Sobel's not here this week, but Matt Every is going to tell us you played in the PGA Championship 4 times. Give us a story.
Oh, man, you guys threw this on me late. I didn't know this was a story time. My grandfather went to college with Mr. Rogers, by the way.
What?
He did, yeah, Rollins College.
Wow.
All right, story time. PGA, we only played in 3 or you said 4 of them?
4 of them. 4 of them,
yeah.
2012, 13, 14, and 15.
So the year Duffner won at Oak Hill, I was playing a lot of my practice rounds with him at the time. And he had the full-on yips, like the full-on yips. And we're actually talking about this today. But he had a putt on 18 that, I'm giving it to him any other time, but he yipped it and he ended up losing. Like, it was a little over $500 to me that week. And then he ended up winning the tournament. But that's my coolest PGA story. I don't think I ever played worth a crap in any of them. I don't know. Just probably in over my head a little bit.
Let me ask you this, though. When you won the API twice, you get an exemption to play in all the majors, right? Like, how exciting is that feeling of, all right, cool, I just won a lot of money. I won a PGA Tour tournament, but now I get to play in these big events. How cool is that? Yeah.
Oh, the coolest. The first year I won, well, there's other ways to get in the majors. Like, I think I got in a couple of them because I got in the top 50 in the world golf ranking at one point. So there's plenty of ways to get in, but to your point, when the first time I won, the first thought that came over me obviously was I get to go to Augusta, right?
Awesome.
Hold on. The second time that I won, the first thought was I get to go to Maui next year. Like, Maui is sick. I mean, you get to start the year off out there, New Year's in Maui, no cut, carts in the practice round. If you're playing worth a crap, you're going to beat half the guys because they haven't been doing much in December. It's just a killer week. But yeah, life-changing for sure. And dude, I'm super grateful to have 2 wins on the tour. It's beyond my wildest dreams and something.
And what was it like to talk to Mr. Palmer both times after winning?
Well, it's great. I knew Mr. Palmer a little bit before that because his grandson Sam and I were buddies. So I'd go over there and play a little bit. They gave me a sponsor invite years before I had won, and then I played a few times leading up to it. But it was super cool. The first year I won, I was coming down the stretch against much sexier names than mine for the sponsors, and I ended up winning, and I could tell how he knew me. He knew who I was, and he knew I was a local kid as well. And I could tell he knew how much it meant to me. And that was super cool for me.
That is very cool. Last question that I have for you, just because, it's story time where you have the recap screen up. If you're watching on YouTube, what is your favorite PGA Tour course that you have played, or one that you always enjoyed playing the most?
Oh man, everyone's gonna probably say Riviera, right? You guys ever been out there?
I have not. I live in Scottsdale, so I live near TPC
Yeah.
Scottsdale. I haven't been to Riviera, but
It's unbelievable. Just for the piece of property they have is killer. I don't think there's a water hazard on the golf course. Small greens, good golf goes a mile there. Bad golf gets penalized. It's got a ton of charm. I'm a big fan of small greens. Like if I was building a golf course, first things first, small greens.
Hey, listen. I mean, for me, the bigger the green, the better. Because
Yeah.
when you're an 18 handicap, you need all the help you can get, and you still don't find that many greens. Guys, this has been a great show. But hey, we have a big week coming up here. See, you're going to be on a ton of shows. So check this out: CBS Sports Network, noon Eastern tomorrow, 1 Eastern. Thursday and Friday, we have post-round recaps live on the SportsLine YouTube channel. See you and I will be on Thursday. And then, of course, watch the third and final round Saturday and Sunday, 1 Eastern, CBS and Paramount Plus. See ya. Anything to promote here?
Yeah. One other thing is tomorrow morning, our live chat on Wednesday morning at 10:30. It's me and Mike McClure. So any question you have, whether it's DFS related or betting related or just whatever, tournament related, we're going to be in there from probably 10:30 to around 11:30 answering your questions specifically. So get it. It might be an ownership question in DFS. It might be who you're playing, who's your core, like those types of things. Mike is so sharp on that stuff. So it's going to be me and Mike tomorrow on the SportsLine YouTube channel. That's this channel you're watching right now, tomorrow at 10:30.
That is how you make money, is to watch Sia and M Squared talk shop. That's how you make money. I'm just throwing it out there. My parlays, debatable. Matt, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Great to hang out. Any advice, any final thoughts from you?
No, I just want to say thanks for having me on, guys. And I just figured out that there's actually a chat on here like 2 seconds ago. Everyone that was talking to me, hello. I appreciate the kind words. I'd love to be back on. You guys were great, by the way.
Well, thank you. It was great to have you. Thanks to producer Matt behind the scenes as well. For Matt Every and Nejad, I am Eric Cohen. And as I always like to say, let's hit it big. Good luck.